Okay, let's get the conversation up and running. This is the time to talk about the public service sector in Nigeria, reputed to contribute just about 3% to the GDP. If you're on Twitter last week, perhaps you were part of that conversation when Dr. Joe Abba brought in some insight into what's been done at reforming Nigeria's public sector. Good morning, Dr. Abba. Thank you very much for Abuja Studios. We appreciate your time.
Good morning, Bosun.
Thank you very much. It's good to have you. Let's start from where we last week, but first, give us a summary. What is the state of Nigeria's public service as we speak?
The state of the public service, it would be fair to say, is in transition. We've gone through a long period of military rule, and we've had about 16 years of democracy. And the characteristic of military rule is that it systematically weakens the checks and balances that the public service brings in. And so we had to go through a period through which certain basic rules and processes were reintroduced at the start of democratic rule in 1999, and I think President Obasanjo must be commended for that. And now we're in the process of moving away from those rule-based reforms to those that actually matter to the Nigerian on the street. So I would say that the public service is still recovering from very many years of systematic abuse, if you like. And, a lot of the key institutions that underpinned the public service are in the process of being rebuilt. So yes, a lot has been done, but there's still quite a lot more to do.
Well, if you look at this current administration, and we're going to talk to that, the Minister of Finance was on Twitter last week very briefly, and she said the Buhari's administration inherited about 1.2 million civil servants at the federal level, and they consume about 163 billion naira monthly in salaries and wages. How does that hit you from a statistics point of view?
I'm sure what she said was 1.2 million public servants, not civil servants. There's a difference between the two. The federal civil service is only about 90,000 people. The federal public service includes the legislators, the military, the police, the judges, everybody that draws from the federal budget is a public servant. But if you look at, you asked me the question, how does that hit me? If you do the mathematics, it actually comes down to less than 127,000 naira per person per month. So it's not a huge amount of money in relative terms. However, it is a huge amount to spend on such a small population. The issue there being the country is not producing, is not generating enough wealth. And so even the basics you need to run a sensible government immediately appears quite large. And so the emphasis must be on growing the economy, making public servants more productive, and having a sensible system with checks and balances that works. It's a bit lazy and short-sighted to simply say, oh, the service is bloated, without saying bloated for what? Without saying bloated relative to productivity, bloated relative to output. And this is where the focus must be, because if you look at how much we spend on our public service relative to other sectors, yes, it appears quite high, but relative to the cost of running a sensible government with checks and balances, you start to raise questions whether it is indeed bloated for that purpose.
Okay, let's come home to your agency, the Bureau of Public Service Reforms. Talk to us what you're doing, Dr. Joe Abba. What are you achieving?
Well, we're doing a number of things. Essentially, like I said earlier, we're in the process of if you like, rejigging our service. So we're doing quite a number of things that hadn't been done for a very long time. For the first time, Mr. President announced a merger of ministries, not for the first time, but Mr. President announced a merger of ministries in November 2015. What we're doing for the first time is trying to ensure that those ministries are fit for purpose. That is, that they are able to contribute to government priorities, that they are clear what their mandate is, they are clear what their vision is, they have clear short to medium term targets. We do what we call functional reviews to make sure that there aren't duplications in functions between departments and duplications in functions between the ministry itself and its agencies. We look at how the staff are deployed. We look at the skills that the staff have. We ensure that every single person has a job description, not a job schedule, a job description, and that job description is linked to departmental targets, which is linked to ministerial targets, which is linked to government priorities. That hasn't been done in that level of detail in about 62 years. So we're doing that. We've done that with the 6 merged ministries. We've done that with environment as well. We need to do that work in the 14 other ministries. We feel that it is when we do this piece of work that we will start to get a different civil service, a civil service that knows what it's doing, is focused on results, and it's focused on individual accountability for those results. That's one of the things we're doing with the civil service itself. We're doing quite a lot with the agencies. We are the secretary to the implementation committee on the white paper for rationalization and restructuring of agencies and parastatals, popularly known as the Orosanye report. We have carried out a comprehensive review of that report and the white paper in response to it, and I'll talk to you a bit more about that in a minute. So we're doing that. We're also providing practical guidance to agency chief executives on how to run government agencies and parastatals, because many people are appointed into positions of director general, executive secretary, with very, very limited experience of public sector working, sometimes no experience at all. So we felt it was vitally important to give them an easy, straightforward guide on how to run a government agency with all the right circulars, all the rules, all the legislations to do with procurement, financial regulations, human resource management, negotiating change, strategic planning. All of those things are contained in that guide. We've supplemented that with a web-based self-assessment tool